Due to the crazy amount of solid points and suggestions I received in the first video, I felt like a part 2 of the most unforgettable beatdowns in Dragon Ball Z was in order. But this time, we're going to take a look at Dragon Ball series as a whole, not just Z and its related films. First up, we got Frieza vs. Broly from the Dragon Ball Super Broly film. This beating was crazy, and I barely know where to begin. Okay, first off, let's just start off with how this ass whooping begins. Goku and Vegeta has been getting mollywopped by the menace Broly for a hot minute now, so they decide, you know what, I think it's time that somebody else got that work for a little bit. So they roll up on Frieza, who's just chilling, and the craziest part of the whole thing is before introducing the demon Broly to his next victim, Goku yells out, "Have fun, Frieza," knowing full well what's about to happen next. A second goes by, and we cut to the next scene as we watch Frieza almost in tears as he is getting Dempsey rolled by the legendary Super Saiyan. Frieza gets hit so hard during the beatdown, the man goes cross-eyed. The whole while Broly is just curb stomping and river dancing on this man like he's doing an emote in Fortnite. Now the disrespect from Goku and Broly is bad, but truly the worst part of the whole thing is that Frieza got ragdolled for an entire hour before Gogeta showed up. An hour. Do you know how crazy it is to get your ass whooped for an hour straight? Y'all have seen fight videos of dude getting pieced up bad in a matter of seconds. Now imagine this beatdown occurring for a full-on hour. Unbelievable. If nothing else, you gotta give Frieza some respect for his durability. I don't know if there's anybody in the Dragon Ball universe that can take getting bodied like Frieza can, except maybe Vegeta. Next up, Vegeta versus Gohan. And the main thing that qualified this skirmish to be on the list is the rampant disrespect from both sides, but mainly Vegeta. Being the Potara fusion between Goku and Vegeta, that Saiyan blood is running thick in the homie, and his cockiness is on a whole different universe. My dude came out of the transformation smirking, and the only time the smirk leaves his face is if he's making fun of you or for the split second he's attacking and about to make you end up on a t-shirt. Now don't get me wrong, by this point Buu is mega cocky as well. The homie has that Gotenks blood in him as well as Ultimate Gohan, so bro thinks he's invincible and is mad quick to pop off at the mouth. He just so happened to come up on the wrong one this time around. Vegeta was honestly a menace. Homie refuses to take the fight seriously from the jump, blocking attacks with only his legs and tanking hints that would kill anybody else in the universe at this point, just to show he can. Vegeta even beats his ass as a piece of candy later on in the scrap. Yes, homie gets turned into a literal snack by the end of the fight and still beats the brakes off this fella. Guess he showed him the real meaning of a jawbreaker. My personal favorite though is at one point in the fight, Vegeta literally tells Buu that he's cooked, and that's when I knew that it was a wrap. But ultimately, despite being an absolute dog, Vegeta still has that Vegeta blood in him, so you know what that means. That's right. No matter how much trash you talk and how strong you get, in the end, a jobber is gonna job. Next up, we got a real classic. We got Dragon Ball's Tien versus Yamcha battle at the World Tournament. Now, I just want to take a minute to talk about the choreography and put some respect on it in this battle. The Dragon Ball anime may be quite old at this point, but the fight choreography is truly some of the best in the business. And if I'm gonna keep it a buck, quite a bit better than much of what you see in Z and Super. I think the main thing that sets the fights apart in the Dragon Ball series is the fact that they move and feel like they are doing moves based off of real life martial arts. It's not just a bunch of really jacked dudes with big numbers punching each other in straight lines or occasionally shooting a ki blast. Fights in the original series have a real sense of finesse to them. Fighters move fluidly and look as though they are practiced martial artists. Fights aren't solely based on who has the biggest power level, but often who has the best strategy and can outwit their opponent in the moment. The fight between Yamcha and Tien is an excellent showcase of this. The fight has a clear ebb and flow. The punches feel weighty and it feels like any hit could be a knockout in the end of the fight if one of them is not careful. I definitely miss the days where the series supporting cast was more relevant, and it's cool to see that Super was at least trying to make some progress on that end. While the fight is not a one-sided beatdown by any means, what caused me to put this on the list was the climax. After a hard-fought battle, Yamcha ends up taking a nasty kick to the solar plexus, and while he's writhing in pain, barely conscious, this scumbag Tien does a WWE-style knee drop on top of Yamcha's kneecap and completely destroys any hopes of a career in the NBA he might have had. That shit was so unnecessary and brutal, bro. Mans had already won the fight, but decided that wasn't enough and just had to add a little extra spice to it. Dragon Ball era Tien was a villain, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss that devious behavior just a little bit. Next, we got Napa versus the Z Fighters. Now this one was an absolute massacre, homies. I cannot lie to you. The Z Fighters' morale was already crushed by the homie Yamcha getting lit up by Cybermen. Then the homie Napa proceeds to power up, and you can just tell by the looks on their faces that they know this fight is already a wrap. The part that kills me though is when Goldberg's done powering up, he starts sniffing around because he smells bitch in the air. Turns out the scent was coming from Tien, so he goes after him first. He then proceeds to hit the homie so hard, his hand turns completely red, like when Jerry would bop Tom on the fingers with a hammer in the old Tom and Jerry cartoons. Then the next time he hits him, he knocks that man's arm clean off. Tien, as you might imagine, is screaming in agony and contemplating all of his life choices that led him to this moment, while the rest of the crew is just standing there with their mouths wide open, scared to even move. Then you have poor little Gohan out here, who was a literal toddler, watching all this damn near in tears, thinking, you guys really expected me to come out here and put in work on these grown-ass men? And right before Napa is able to put Tien in a casket, Chaozu jumps in and literally blows himself up, thinking by taking one for the team, he can save him from this menace, and all of that doesn't even get Nappa's armor dirty. The whole thing just had me sick to my stomach. Then Krillin and Piccolo jump in, thinking if they work together, they can put a stop to this man. They start busting out techniques I didn't even know they could do, and Nappa still leaves them both in the stretcher halfway to King Yemma's house. If you have not watched this fight in a minute, you have to go back and see it. It's pure chaos and DBZ tomfoolery at its finest. Now, I know in this series I've been mad disrespectful to the Prince of All Saiyans, but in this next spot we'll show a little bit of love and props to Vegeta versus the semi-perfect Cell fight. Now, before I even get to the fight, I just want to talk real quick about how much I hate Cell's second form. The voice is mad goofy and the big pink lips bug me so much. Alright, but back to the fight. Basically, Vegeta beats the brakes off of Cell. Homie truly stands no chance. Vegeta's out here matrix dodging the punches, ragdolling the man whenever he feels like it, talking massive amounts of trash the whole time. Dude really could have finished the battle anytime he wanted, but as we know, no Vegeta W comes without a massive Vegeta L, and this fight is no exception. Vegeta does the feeling myself thumb point at himself, which if you know anything about Dragon Ball, you know that means you're about to lose the fight within the next few minutes. Cell knows he can't beat Vegeta outright, but because of the Saiyan blood flowing in him, he knows that Vegeta's biggest weakness is his pride, so he plays on this. He tells Vegeta that if he were allowed to reach his final form, Vegeta would have no shot of winning against him, and Vegeta, being the insecure mess that he is, takes the bait and lays off to give Cell the chance to find 18 and transform. Shout out to my GOAT Trunks, who tried to stop his dad from the nonsense he was about to pull. Trunks told his pops that he is from a future where he has seen firsthand what kind of garbage happens when business does not get handled the way it needs to, and send Vegeta on a one-way trip key blast to the moon. But the damage was already done, and after swatting Krillin like a fly, Cell absorbed 18 and the rest was history. Why 18 and Android 16 didn't just fly away during the fight earlier is beyond me, but hey, I'll stay quiet. Next, we gotta talk about Mystic Gohan versus Super Buu. When I tell you Gohan was in his Vegeta bag this fight, this ish makes me so mad, bro. It was like watching Vegeta versus semi-perfect Cell all over again. Or even more accurately, Gohan versus Cell when he achieved the Super Saiyan 2 transformation. After all these years and everything he went through, Gohan still has not learned that you do not play with your food. That Mystic transformation had that Saiyan blood running too intense through the homie's veins. He could just not help talking garbage and toying with his enemy. And by the time Gohan realized that he needed to get serious, Super Buu used his big brain tactics, absorbed the rest of Gohan's homies, and proceeded to go to Pound Town on that man, giving him all the trash talk back and then some, with it eventually ending in him being absorbed too. You hate to see it. Honestly, the biggest L's in Dragon Ball come from the influence of Saiyan blood. It's pretty much a guarantee that at some point, if you have Saiyan blood in your veins, you're going to lose a fight that you absolutely should have won, and it's going to be completely your fault. Now, before my final pick, I got to give some honorable mentions to a couple fights. First is Gohan versus the Wilderness. That forest and those dinosaurs were out here kicking that child's ass, bro. And not only that, Piccolo was smacking around Gohan, who was like 3 or 4 years old at this point, like he's a grown man. I cannot believe sometimes how much they had Gohan going through at that little of an age. It's absolutely bananas, bro. And I also want to give a shout out to the rock Krillin threw at Goku's head when he got out of the hyperbolic time chamber and tried to take a nap. That rock really put in some work and did more damage to Goku than a lot of the enemies he's fought up to that point. And finally, we have Trunks versus Mecha Frieza and King Cold. After what happened in this stomping, Trunks is the one they should be calling King Cold from now on. Future Trunks is what you get when you take all of Vegeta's rawness, but leave out the unnecessary ego and the showboating. While the fight itself is seconds long, what gave it this spot on the list is all of the build-up and everything surrounding it. Before Trunks came on the scene, the presence of Frieza's energy had the Z fighters absolutely shook. Them boys were terrified. Frieza's presence had them stuttering and hiding their power levels, literally hiding under rocks, praying Frieza did not sense them and turn them into cosmic dust. But out of nowhere, this purple hair kid shows up and just mops Frieza's goons off screen, then tells Frieza that he's about to clean him up next. And then he does! Man summons his inner Naruto, shoots a cartoon, fireball no jutsu, then proceeds to cut off the most dangerous villain the series has seen up to that point. Just cuts him up into a million pieces like he was preparing breakfast in the morning, all in front of the man's dad, who is now whimpering and begging for his life in the most emasculating way possible. And what really is crazy when you start thinking about it is how karma plays into all this too. Frieza took Vegeta's dad away from him at an early age and killed off basically his entire bloodline. After that point, Vegeta lusts for power in the hopes of becoming the strongest being in the universe and being able to take revenge on the creature that destroyed his life. But as fate would have it, he was not meant to be the one that stopped that menace, and he never got the chance. But we fast forward, and who is it but Trunks, Vegeta's own flesh and blood son, who comes from another timeline and in seconds takes the revenge that Vegeta was never able to. Not only that, he takes out Frieza's pops as well, harkening back to all those years ago when Frieza did that to Vegeta. Trunks is the realest of ones and had one of the sickest and most memorable intros to a character I've seen, period. Trunks' introduction into Z canon lets you know that everything coming up after Frieza is about to be on a different level, and the Z fighters are going to have to step up their game immensely if they want to remain breathing. And there we have it, homies, part 2 of the worst beatdowns in DBZ history. Let me know your thoughts, and if I missed any fights you thought definitely should have made the list. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.